All right, morning, folks. I got a couple questions, and I received another one this morning about the fraudulent warrants I talked about after the incident back in November. Um, of the 21-minute video I posted first, long time ago. Um, Here's the thing: what this officer Bryant did from the Wyoming Highway Patrol, apparently, whether he got coerced into it or what, um, he basically committed perjury on his oath of office and filled out an affidavit saying that I had a warrant for my arrest. Now, the facts are that, and these warrants had come up on tickets from like 2 or 3 years ago that I'd already sent in cease and desist on, and they were done and gone, because, like I said, I've been driving around for almost 3 years with my plates and nobody bothering me. So I had no warrants for at least 2 years, if not 2.5, 3. And so what they did is they just drug up a bunch of old charges so they can make an example out of me with these fraudulent warrants. So by doing so, this guy's committed perjury on his oath of office, which is actually a crime. Okay, and these three fellas, these highwaymen on the side of the road, had basically committed more actual crimes against their oath of office and their corporate bylaws and statutes that they have to live by because they are agents of that corporation. And so that's what happened. And I didn't know, I didn't even think about it. And I go to Riverton to help a buddy and visit him because he was dying of cancer or whatever. And we was doing some stuff, and I was speeding on accident, absolutely on accident. I didn't realize it was a 55, got pulled over by a Fremont County sheriff, real nice guy. He's like, look, man, he goes, I get it. He goes, I understand where you guys are coming from. He goes, but I also have a job to do, and there's a warrant for your arrest. I said, but partner, I ain't committed a crime. How can there be a warrant, right? He's like, I know, but I kind of got to do my job here. And I was like, all right. So I was like, let's get this thing figured out. So I unpack all my knives and my guns and everything and go to the jail. Well, then I get thrown in the hole for 72 hours. None of my phone pins worked. I couldn't have any contact with the outside world. And I hadn't even known if my critters was being fed for, 72 hours. But luckily, when I did get transported from Fremont County into Natrona County to go in front of the judge, and then they bring you in behind the bar, and you're kind of they just got you, right? So through this abuse of authority or power that they think they supposedly have over us, which is not the case, it's just the way they've been indoctrinated. And that's why I named the video Ego Fed by Ignorance, because that's what we're dealing with here is ignorance. That don't mean people are inherently stupid, but by God, they're definitely ignorant of the law, right? So I got lucky enough to run across some good sheriff deputies in the jailhouse, and I was telling them about my critters, and I was worried about my horses and stuff. And they says, well, you tell Mr. So-and-so down there in booking when you get back down there what your deal is and see if he can't, get you a phone call. And sure enough, I did. And once again, good-hearted people, they just don't understand what they're actually doing here, which is supporting evil once you dig into it far enough. But I got a phone call and called my buddy, and he come bailed me out. And I think I shared this, but I'll tell it again. The bail was like 18,000 and something, and he came in with the cash, and they wouldn't make change for a 20 for this man. So after a little bit, he goes back out to the truck with my other two buddies and gets change for a 20, and then comes back in to finish paying and counting out the bundles to bail me out. And that's called the performance bond. Okay. Well, from the time he goes out to the truck to get the change and gets back in, a whole bundle of $2,000 come up missing at the county jailhouse. So he had to go back out and get another $2,000. Luckily, he brought extra, right? Because he's heard about this stuff going on before. Once a person has a status and standing that I have, actually in their corporate commerce, I'm the holder in due course. So I have more authority in their own jurisdiction than they do as a secured party creditor, because I'm the executor of all my trusts, okay? And I've copyrighted my names and blah, blah, blah. So I lost my train of thought. So anyhow, he goes back out and gets his extra $2,000 bundle because they literally stole $2,000 right there at the jail. Oh, my point is how bad, or who told who to do that, to keep me caged up like an animal for not committing a crime, okay? Number one, I don't get no phone calls. And then number two, $2,000 comes up missing. And we have petitioned for the cameras and everything on this, and with no response at all. Well, I know for a fact if money changes hands at the county or state level, it needs to be under camera, right? And so I brought this up to the judge Thursday when I went to court, and she was kind of taken aback by it. And then she asked this guy in the back, and I didn't even know he was there, and she addressed him, and he stood up, and she says, well, did you bond him out, Mr. So-and-so? And he's like, no, ma'am. They bonded him out on their own. And he's like, I'm just here to learn. So had a bail bondsman there just listening to try to learn. And then I thought about it afterwards. I bet you that perked his ears up, because now they're literally stealing money out of his pocket, right? But anyhow, so that's how it all worked. Because if you watch that video I made of the incident that we're talking about here in November, whatever it was, 21 minutes, and this is what I told the judge the other day. I said 21 minutes of dealing with these corporate policy officers on the side of the road that have no clue what law is. And not one time was the word warrant brought up. I said, because there was no warrants, ma'am. I said, hell, I just crossed an international border last month into Canada with the same car, same plate, same passport, and same face. Now, criminals don't get to do that, right? And I said, how can this even be? And well, this judge, I'll tell you guys, she was actually listening, and it was the most intelligence I've ever seen in a corporate courtroom. And I told her so, but I respect this lady, and and I respect a lot of the sheriffs, and because here's the thing. Some of these people are not inherently evil, okay? They're just ignorant. They're just doing my job. I'm doing my job. Well, my thing with that is, okay, the Nazis was throwing Jews in the oven, just doing their job. That's the reason they created the Nuremberg codes, okay? So not only are these people violating the UCC, which is Uniform Commercial Law of the planet, they're violating Nuremberg codes. They're violating their own statutes and codes. This is just a straight up abuse of power, because I bruised their ego and wouldn't kowtow to their so-called authority, okay? Because that's not how it works. Once you got the status and standing that me and other people like me have, it works like this. Sovereign authority is at the top. The dependent authority is number two. That's the state government. They're dependent upon the sovereign authority to even exist. And then there's the delegated authority with the federal government. Now, these are all by the permissions of the dependent and the sovereign authority. So how in the hell does a delegated authority end up on top and able to do this abuse of power? Well, it's through indoctrination. It's through the school systems. It's through the law schools, And like I had a guy come up to me in the court the other day after I got up there, and I read to the judge, I do not consent to these proceedings. Your offer is not accepted. I don't consent to being a surety in this case of these proceedings, and I demand that the bond be immediately brought forward. Okay, so she's like, Mr. Barris, I know you got a lot to say, but I got a lot of people here. So if you would please have a seat and be patient, we'll get to you as soon as possible. And I said, yes, ma'am. So I was fixing on going sitting down. Well, here comes this guy. I'd never seen him before. He pulls me off into the side in the back of the courtroom in that little room. He's like, dude, if you don't plead not guilty, he's like, they're probably going to haul you away. I said, for what? I haven't committed a crime. And he goes, well, I'll do it for you pro bono. And I'm like, what, a bar attorney? I said, what do you know about the law, right? British accredited registry. Where's his loyalties at? So I just kind of laughed him off. And so anyways, but I was trying to answer that question about how them fraudulent warrants came up. They literally dug up shit that I had already put to sleep 2.5 years prior just to make an example out of me, okay? Well, another thing I found out years ago from a friend when I was working in the welding shops is that they have this thing called diesel therapy for people like us, okay? And this diesel therapy, it's pretty much, I was at the beginning of it. Phone pins don't work. You can't get out and contact anybody. Then you do try to bail out and they're stealing the money to keep you in the damn cage, right? So if these guys don't have the money to bail out, they give them this diesel therapy, it's called. And they just put you on a bus every 72 hours or a van or whatever. Around the country you go, and he told horror stories where guys were gone for 1.5 years, 2 years. Their family didn't even know if they were alive. Now, what kind of abuse of power is that, you guys? I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous, especially when you haven't committed a crime. So it's like I told the judge the other day when she was talking about discovery and going to trial. It's basically you show me yours and I'll show you mine. I said, yes, ma'am. I said, but the fact of the matter is, you guys, these corporate policy officers and these courts have created, or they've committed more crimes against Nuremberg codes, UCC, my right to travel. I mean, just the rights, basic rights of humanity. That's another one. The UN's got, there's basic rights that we have, and they're just violating all this. So I just thought I'd touch base on that and try to clear some things up for you guys. Hope it helps. Have a good day. Peace out.